Hello and welcome to Two Kids in a Trenchcoat. I'm one of your hosts, Jacob Rosenfarb. I'm here with my other host.
What's up? I'm Ryan Sharp, the other host.
And I'm the producer, Josh Atlas.
So the draft season is upon us. You guys will be listening to this. We're filming this or recording this on Wednesday, the night before the draft, but most people listen to this Thursday morning.
The day of the draft.
You'll see how correct we're going to be.
Yeah, you'll have it fresh in your minds. NFL experts, or so I've heard, shoot for about 30% of the correct picks. So we'll see if we can get that. I'm pretty confident in my mock draft. How are you feeling about yours?
I'm feeling all right. It's so hard to predict. There's going to be so many weird trade-ups and
there's
just
so much going on.
Yeah, but I still think it's one of my favorite times of the year right now. NBA
100%.
playoffs, NBA draft, baseball's getting started. It's a fantastic time of the year.
Yeah, baseball's not going so great for me right now. But
but when has it for Orioles fans, But
at least it's draft season, and at least the Dolphins have, some idea potentially of picking someone exciting.
I mean, you're at 11. Somebody's going to fall, I think, I think this is the kind of draft where, 4 quarterbacks go in the top 5 maybe, and really good players are there to be had. So with that in mind, I think we should jump right into our mocks.
All right, so just so you guys know how we're going to do this is we'll go through our top 10. Anyone we change, we'll talk about in depth, and then we'll go from 11 to 32, and anyone we feel like we really need to discuss, which could be everyone, just unfortunately we don't have that amount of time, and we'll swing back around and discuss those guys too. So you want to get us started, Jacob?
Yeah, let's start with the first overall pick, Cleveland Browns. Sam Darnold still for me. Sam Darnold's the best quarterback in this draft. He's a safe pick at number 1. Makes just a lot of sense.
Absolutely no changes for me. I still have Sam Darnold as well. Number 2, you switched. And I switched. Both of us switched it up. Why don't you go first?
Alrighty. I have the Giants taking Bradley Chubb. I think as enticing as a prospect like Saquon Barkley or Quentin Nelson is, they lost JPP, or they traded away JPP this offseason, and I think they're looking for a pass rush. And Bradley Chubb, I think the comparisons to Myles Garrett are a little unfair because Myles Garrett just this athletic freak. But Bradley Chubb is really good in his own right. I think he's going to be fantastic.
I think Bradley Chubb is also really good, and I could totally see the Giants taking him at number 2. But for the sake of my mock draft, I have them taking Saquon Barkley, running back. They called him a perfect prospect a couple weeks ago, and he's been spotted in a Pennsylvania barbershop wearing a Giants hoodie. So that might mean something. They get stuff all the time from the teams, but I think he just is so good.
Yeah.
It makes sense for the Giants just to take him because he's so talented. Like you said, Chubb might make a little more sense in terms of looking for a pass rusher, but I don't see why they would pass on a talent like Saquon Barkley.
I get that. I think we talked about this a little last week. I'm a little unclear about, or not unclear. I'm unsure if I was the general manager on spending a top 5 pick or spending the number 2 overall pick on a running back. As fantastic as Saquon is, I'm worried he's not the generational prospect or big. I think he's a very good prospect. He might not be generational, though.
Hopefully, he's not Trent Richardson. That was a huge disappointment.
That would be
going
rough.
number 3 to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's not the same thing. I don't think it is, though.
Me either. Let's hope not.
Yeah, even without the Heisman, I think Barkley is significantly better.
I agree. So moving on to number 3, the New York Jets. And Ryan, who do you have them taking?
I still have them taking Josh Rosen.
As do I. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think they're probably going to draft a quarterback. Rosen makes the most sense. I think we both agree.
Mm-hmm.
But Allen or Mayfield here wouldn't be a big shock.
They'll both be available. I agree with you. Not a huge shock if either of those guys go.
Yeah. So moving on to number 4, the Cleveland Browns again. Who do you have them selecting with their second first-round pick?
Well, I switched it up from Saquon because I have him going 2 now to Bradley Chubb out of NC State.
So in my mock, as previous weeks, I thought, maybe they go with Saquon, maybe they go with the defensive player. This week, this is where I had the Buffalo Bills trading in, giving up 12, 21, and probably a future third, maybe a future second, and drafting Josh Allen. We talked about it a lot last week. I'm not a Josh Allen fan. I don't think he's good. But, I think the Bills have fallen in love with him. I think they are that sort of arm strength and mobility is just too enticing. I don't think they'll be able to lay off. But why do you like Chubb to the Browns?
I think the Browns hold on to this pick, take Chubb. I just like the way he would line up next to Myles Garrett. That, to me, Even though they're the Browns, that seems quite scary, especially if I'm an opposing offensive line or quarterback, or really anyone who stands in their path.
Really, that is terrifying. That's just terrifying to think about. Is Chubb and Garrett together on the same line for the next 10, 15 years? Oh my God.
Plus, they might be good enough together with a rookie quarterback and a struggling offense. Of course, they did add Jarvis Landry, but I still
And Tyrod.
and Tyrod Taylor.
Can't forget about
but
Tyrod.
I think the defense will be what keeps them in games this year.
Well, cool. Yeah. So I agree. I think adding Chubb to that mix would only make them a more dominant defense. But that's a defense on the rise for sure.
Absolutely. And then moving into number 5, this is where I had the Bills trading up to get Josh Allen. The Broncos have Case Keenum, so they don't really need a quarterback. Keenum's coming off a career year. I think they should trust him. I don't see how or why they wouldn't. He came in as a backup and took the Vikings, who granted did have a good defense, but still 13-3. That's quite impressive as a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So I don't see why the Broncos would need to do that. And like we said, the Bills are in love with Josh Allen and are apparently ready to go at any length to have him on their team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills seem hard set on making Allen the quarterback of their future. So with him, I have him already gone. For me, I have the Broncos taking Saquon. I think this seems like a pretty natural landing spot. I think you're right. I think the Broncos are trying to win now. I think they believe in what they have. I think that defense isn't what it used to be in those Super Bowl runs, but this is still a pretty good defense. And Case Keenum, at some point, we have to stop doubting him. At some point, he's a top 10 quarterback. When you put up stats like that, it's hard to argue against it. So adding a weapon like Saquon, they have no running. They've had no real legit running back in a hot minute. So they've tried. I think Saquon next to Case Keenum with Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, man, that's an offense.
That's a good team.
That's something scary.
Listed off.
Yeah, so that's something that'd be a nice building block for the Broncos at 5.
Yep.
So moving on to 6, Indianapolis Colts. Who do you have them selecting?
I have the Colts taking Quentin Nelson, the guard out of Notre Dame. I think Jim Irsay, like we've said before, is confident in Andrew Luck and his abilities. I'm just not confident in the Indianapolis offensive line. They allowed a league-high 56 sacks last year. Granted, Andrew Luck wasn't taking those hits, but still, that's atrocious. And I think Quentin Nelson is a very good guard who's going to be able to bring that number down a little bit at least.
Yeah,
for the Colts.
I also have Nelson. I'm a little worried, I think, about taking a guard this early. That just, it's not easy to find guards, but I question how important a guard is in team building. But when you're this dominant as Nelson, you're going to have some impact.
Yeah, it makes sense to take him, and he's good.
Exactly. He might be the best player in this draft, so it makes a lot of sense for him
Definitely
at 6.
up there. All right, moving to 7, Tampa Bay. Who you got?
Staying with Minka Fitzpatrick, the safety out of Alabama. He's fantastic. He's going to be, a day one starter for them. He's going to make a huge impact, I think. He's a type of player who could, sort of an Earl Thomas role in Seattle, where he can just transform a defense.
All right, I switched mine up. I have them taking Derwin James out of Florida State now. I've heard reports that they're really narrowing in on him. He's the guy they want. Makes sense, Florida guy.
Yeah.
And a very talented safety. I personally think Minka's a little better, but right now the signs are pointing to Tampa taking Derwin, so that's what I'm going to have to go with.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Florida legend. That'd be kind of cool to have him stay in the state.
Yeah.
I think there's other possibilities, though, later. Just a little tease for where I think Derwin's going. But let's move on to 8. I have the Chicago Bears taking Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. He's not the most well-rounded linebacker in this draft. We talked about this a little last week. He's not the most well-rounded, but what he does well, he does so well. He controls the sidelines. He is a true move linebacker. He is so fast. He's such a freak athlete. He's a little undersized at 6 feet tall, but he has the athleticism and the makeup to that will be far from his issue.
He's so good at finding the ball.
Oh my God,
it's insane.
He's so exciting to watch on tape.
Like I said, his Rose Bowl was one of the better performances I've ever seen by a college football player. So
I can get with that. So who do you have them taking?
I have the Bears taking a wide receiver, Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. We talked about this a little bit off the show. They did just get Allen Robinson, but I think he'll work more as a veteran presence along with Ridley. Still a really good receiver, and I think he'll still get the ball a good amount, but he'll be a good guy to have around a rookie receiver. You brought up Kevin White, and I brought up Kevin White in my mock draft. I have no more faith in Kevin White. You have 21 catches in 2 years. That's not a lot, and it doesn't show a lot of potential either. I know he's been hurt a little bit, but the inability to stay healthy, that concerns me a little bit. So I think it's time for the Bears to, move on a little bit from Kevin White and try out a new young wide receiver.
No, I mean, I get it. I agree. I think Ridley's the best in this draft, and I understand your lack of faith in Kevin White. I think Kevin White is a hard horse to hitch your wagon to, but I don't think he should necessarily prevent. If they've fallen in love with Calvin Ridley, Kevin White should be the last person to stand in their way of taking him.
Exactly.
So number 9, San Francisco 49ers. Who do you have them taking, Ryan?
This is where I have Roquan Smith going. Like I said on the last podcast, future Reuben Foster is still up in the air.
I think Lynch came out and said
he'll cut him if he's guilty.
Exactly. So that's a pretty big,
Yeah, that's kind of a big loss to the linebacker position. Plus, I think Roquan honestly might be a little better than Reuben Foster. So if they lose him and gain Roquan, that works out well for the Niners.
I like it. I have the Niners taking Denzel Ward. I think some teams just going to fall in love with his intangibles. I mean, a 4.3, 740, and like a 39-inch vertical. That's a freaky athlete. So, he's going to fit in from day one. He's only 5'10", so he's going to give up some height. There's just some receivers he can't cover. But basically everyone's 6'2" and below, he's just going to be able to shut them down. And so, I really like Denzel with the 49ers. But moving on to number 10, Oakland Raiders.
Oakland Raiders, I have taking Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
Reggie Nelson, arguably the Raiders' best safety, is going to be 35. And their 27 top pick, Garyon Conley, he's good. But, I don't know. Having Minkah Fitzpatrick in your defensive secondary is going to help any team. And especially, like I said, with the aging Reggie Nelson, I think it'll be good to pick up a young, talented safety for the future. And even now, because he's good.
Minkah next to Carl Joseph would be unreal. That sort of long-term safety pairing, that'd be a lot of fun.
Imagine playing them twice a year.
Oh, man. That's something I'm not looking forward to. So the Oakland Raiders, I have also them addressing the secondary. I think that's probably the route they're going to go. But I have them taking Iowa corner Josh Jackson. I'm going to touch on him later. He's a prospect I really have fallen in love with. But like I said, he's a tall, rangy corner. He's I want to say he's 6'1", 6'2", maybe, long arms. He's going to be able to shut down a bunch of different receivers in this league. But I'll touch on him a little later. So let's move on to some other interesting picks in our mocks.
All right, so running through 11 to 32, we'll just switch back and forth, and then we'll come back around and reevaluate.
Perfect.
All right, number 11, Miami Dolphins, Baker Mayfield. Who you got?
I got Derwin James going to the Dolphins. Number 12 this is a Cleveland Browns trade because of the earlier trade I mentioned. Mm-hmm. I have them taking Virginia Tech linebacker Tremaine Edmonds.
All right, I have Denver at 12 because they had them traded with Buffalo. I have Denver taking Mike McGlinchey, tackle out of Notre Dame. All right, Washington Redskins, who you got?
I got Washington taking Vita Vea. I think they have a real need at nose tackle. Who do you have Washington taking?
I've heard Vita Vea a lot. I just don't think he's all that great. So this is where Josh Jackson is landing for me.
I like it. Number 14, Green Bay Packers. I have them taking Calvin Ridley. I touched on him a little earlier.
Makes a lot of sense. Just lost Jordy Nelson.
Exactly.
This is where I have my first, I guess, shocker of the draft. Marcus Davenport, someone who's been under the radar until his Senior Bowl and Combine. Out of UTSA, I have him to Green Bay.
15, the Arizona Cardinals. I have them taking Baker Mayfield. Baker falls all the way to 15 in my mock. So Cardinals get the quarterback of the future.
I have them taking a quarterback as well, but it is not Baker Mayfield. It is Lamar Jackson from Louisville. All right, 16, Baltimore Ravens. Who you got?
I got them taking pass rusher Harold Landry out of Boston College. He's been a lot of fun to watch on tape.
Another pass rusher for me, Tremaine Edmonds out of Virginia Tech.
17, my Los Angeles Chargers. I have them taking interior lineman Maurice Hurst. Touched on him a lot last podcast, so give that one a listen if you want to hear about him.
I have your Los Angeles Chargers taking Denzel Ward out of Ohio State after he drops back a little bit.
And if you do want to hear Jacob's take on that prospect, the link for that last podcast will be in the description below.
Breaking news from our producer, Josh Zacklis here.
We owe so much to Josh. He really keeps us on track.
Yeah, really. Shout out to Josh Zacklis from the sideline intel. Just
Thanks, guys.
everyone,
Yeah.
producing 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
It's all part of the job.
You listeners need to appreciate Josh, too.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks, guys.
So let's move
Back to football players.
back to the football
will
players.
be appreciated, hopefully, by their fan bases.
So who do you have my LA Chargers taking?
Denzel Ward
Denzel
from
Ward.
Ohio State.
Very nice. Moving on to 18, Seattle Seahawks. This is where I have Davenport going. I think they could really use another pass rusher.
After losing Michael Bennett, too, I could totally see that. I have them taking an offensive lineman after some really shaky play in 2017. I think they'll go with Colton Miller, the tackle out of UCLA. He's fast, and Seattle really needs someone up there that's competent.
Very nice, 6'9".
Yeah,
so that's
very nice indeed.
That's good to have.
Yeah.
At that position.
To be a nice 6'9" and also run a 4.95 40,
That's pretty rare. That's pretty impressive.
good.
Pretty nice.
Yep.
He's a nice player.
Yeah, real nice prospect.
Real nice prospect.
All right, number 19, Dallas Cowboys. I have them going with Cortland Sutton, Texas wide receiver from SMU.
I also have the Cowboys taking a wide receiver. I think it makes sense after losing Dez. I have them taking Maryland wide receiver DJ Moore.
I like DJ Moore a lot. I have him going later. You'll hear his name in a bit.
Cool. Number 20th overall, Detroit Lions. I have them taking running back Darrius Guice.
I wonder where you came up with that take.
It just came to me one night. It
yeah.
was just a moment of.
I also have Darrius Guice going to the Lions.
I wonder if that could be related.
Yeah, interesting.
I told Jacob that at first, and he's like, I don't know. Is that really a first-round pick? And then I explained, Amir Abdullah is just okay. Theo Riddick, just okay. It's time for the Lions, get someone that is capable of carrying the ball on all 3 downs.
I like it. Moving on, number 21. Pick number 21, Cincinnati Bengals. I have them taking Notre Dame offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey.
Another offensive lineman for me, but not Mike McGlinchey. Instead, center James Daniels out of Iowa after Russell Bodine departed. And already poor play on their offensive line. I think it's time for them to take someone to give Andy Dalton the ball off the line of scrimmage.
Moving on to number 22. This was previously the Buffalo Bills, but I have the Cleveland Browns taking this pick over. I have them taking Colorado corner Isaiah Oliver. Who do you have them taking?
I have them taking DJ Moore, the receiver out of Maryland. I'm actually not with the Browns, though. I'm on the Denver Broncos.
Gotcha. Just wanted to clarify. So you have the Broncos taking DJ Moore.
Yes.
I like it. Moving on to 23. This is now the pick owned by the New England Patriots.
Thanks to the Brandon Cooks trade.
And who do you like them taking?
I like them taking Maurice Hurst, the defensive lineman out of Michigan.
Cool. I can't hate the pick, but I have them taking Lamar Jackson. Maybe Tom Brady's long-term replacement.
I don't know.
Makes a lot of sense.
I think he's one of the guys we'll swing back around and talk about. Very intriguing player.
Definitely, yeah. We would be remiss if we did not talk about Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely. 24, Carolina Panthers. Who you got?
I have them taking Louisville corner Jair Alexander. Similar to Mo Hurst, broke him down last week, so go give that a listen.
2 Louisville guys in a row. I like it. I have the Panthers taking Michael Gallup, wide receiver out of Colorado State. I originally had him going a lot higher at 14. Things happened that moved that around. And they lost Kelvin Benjamin, so they need a new guy to catch passes.
I like it. So, number 25, Tennessee Titans. Who you got them taking?
Right? I have them taking Harold Landry with this pick.
I can definitely get behind that. I have the Titans taking a more offensive weapon. Tight end Dallas Goddard. I think it's Goddard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure if it's Dallas Goddard or Goddard, but I'm pretty sure it's Goddard. And he's really good. He's super talented. Big, tall, rangy wide receiver or tight end is
For
mismatch
sure.
problem.
I'm gonna drop his name in just a couple of minutes here too. So I definitely think he's a first-round pick.
Number 26, the Atlanta Falcons. I have them taking pass rusher Arden Key out of LSU. How about you, Ryan?
Another pass rusher, but this is where Vita Vea falls to for me.
I can get behind. They need some interior line help.
Yeah.
Number 27, New Orleans Saints. I have them taking defensive lineman Taven Bryan out of Florida. How about you?
This is where Dallas Goddard goes for me. Colby Fleener, okay tight end, but Goddard's pretty talented. I think he's a good pick, and he's probably not going to be there for the Saints to grab in the second. So
I like it. 28, Pittsburgh Steelers. Who you got?
Leighton Vander Esch, the linebacker out of Boise State. He'll come in and I don't know if he'll replace him completely, but at least fill the spot of Ryan Shazier while he recovers from that scary injury he suffered last season.
I also have the Steelers taking a linebacker. Seems like a position of need. I have them taking Alabama linebacker Rashawn Evans. I don't think he's going to do the exact same things as Shazier. He doesn't have the exact same skill set, but he's still really talented.
That guy like Shazier is super hard to replace.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be able to replace him with one draft pick. That's it.
Absolutely not.
So number 29, Jacksonville Jaguars. I've been taking Georgia offensive guard Isaiah Wynn. How about you?
I have a wide receiver going to Jacksonville, James Washington out of Oklahoma State. They lost Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson. I don't know. Well, last time they took a receiver from Oklahoma State, didn't work out so well.
Wasn't that he was a little higher in the draft selection though?
Yeah.
So hopefully, I really like James Washington though. He's pretty talented.
Number 30 for Minnesota. Right here is where I have Jair Alexander going.
Makes a lot of sense. I have them taking Texas offensive tackle Connor Williams. I think they could really use some offensive line help, and he's a pretty highly touted prospect.
Again, a pick that would not shock me at all.
31, Patriots, second pick of the first round. This is where I have linebacker Leighton and Vander Esch falling. How about you? Who do you have the Patriots taking?
I have the Patriots taking Mike Gesicki right here. I know Gronk is coming back, but I think Gesicki's a good enough pass catcher that they'll still take him. I like the fit in New England. I talked about him on last week's podcast too, so if you want to hear that, I think you know what to do. We've told you twice already.
Right down in the description.
So, final pick of the first round, Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. I have them taking Stanford safety, Justin Reed.
All right, and this is where I have running back, Sony Michel going. I originally didn't think he's a first-round pick. To be honest, if he doesn't go to the Eagles, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. But I really like putting him here. I think he's a very talented running back. And the Eagles, kind of need a guy to carry the ball on all three downs like the Lions do. The platoon system obviously worked well for him last year. They sent out 3 or 4 different guys on a weekly basis. I just don't know how long that is going to hold up for them. So I think drafting a running back that can touch the ball 25, 30 times a game is a very good move for the Eagles to make. But they're pretty set in terms of having a good team. So I think any pick they make is just going to make them even better.
I could definitely see. I like Sony Michel a lot. I was hesitant at first, but when we really broke it down, he is so talented, and they really don't have super pressing needs. So Sony Michel makes a lot of sense. I think you're right though. I think he could touch the ball 25 to 30 times a game. Like maybe even if he doesn't start, maybe he gets 10 to 15 runs, and then maybe he catches the ball 10 times. Like he can so dynamic. He has so many possibilities. He would be a lot of fun in that offense.
Exactly. I think he's I don't know about you, but I would say as of right now, Jay Ajayi is probably the best running back on that Eagles team.
Yeah, I'd have to say so.
He had a rough season last year. Traded from Miami on Halloween. At that point, he was on pace for 1,000 yards, and then did not get it with the Eagles. But like we said, he was splitting the load with 3 other guys. So like you said, he might not start, and that might be Jay Ajayi that takes that starting role over Michel. But we'll see where that goes, because I don't know what 2018 holds for the J train.
I think Michel could be utilized in a very similar way to maybe they used Corey Clement or the Patriots used Dion Lewis. I mean, obviously the Patriots used Dion Lewis much more, but that ability to do so many different things, I think that's what makes Sony Michel so attractive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So producer Josh, resident Eagles fan, What do you think their team needs are going into the draft?
So I see what Ryan is saying with the running backs. They do have Corey Clement, they have Wendell Smallwood, and they have Jay Ajayi. And I see what you're saying with the defensive backs. They can always use help back there. They have a solid group, but Malcolm Jenkins isn't going to stay young forever. He will eventually get older, and he might want to retire and pursue other things. He's already made a name for himself in the political field. He's visited Congress a few times.
Yeah, super active, definitely.
He is. So I could see them going maybe with a defensive back in the 3rd round because they don't have a 2nd-round pick. I think in the 1st round they might go with an offensive lineman. Certainly if they like someone, I wouldn't be surprised if they took one or if they took a defensive lineman. What won them the Super Bowl last year was dominant offensive line play and dominant defensive line play. So why not just keep building what works? I could also see them going linebacker since that seems to be their weakest position group.
I like it. I can definitely get behind all of that.
Yeah.
Offensive line makes a lot of sense as well. I think we both have UTEP guard Will Hernandez still available.
He's still on the board.
And so that would make a lot of sense for them.
Yeah.
If they don't take. I think both of our picks are kind of luxury picks.
Yeah.
A pick like Will Hernandez is a very, very straightforward and sort of plug and play. That's your left tackle for the next 8 years.
It's not the most electric pick, but definitely one that will help the Eagles.
For sure.
All right. I know we both wanted to go back to Darrius Guice at number 20. So
yeah, let's
tell me what you like about Darrius.
Darrius Guice is a really interesting prospect to me because he might be the most complete back in this draft, not named Saquon. I think he can do so many things above average. I'm not exactly sure what he does fantastically. Like with Sony Michel, I can point to what he does really well, or Ronald Jones. I can point to what exact traits they bring. With Darrius Guice, he's just a really well-rounded prospect. He hits the hole hard. He is a fantastic jump cutter. He's fantastic at his lateral movement is really impressive. That just lets him just accelerate out of that jump. So that was really where he gained a lot of his success at LSU. But he's just a bowling ball. He's just a little.
He can go through people.
Exactly. That's my favorite part about him. He just there's this one punt return I was watching. I want to say versus NC State, and he just absolutely flattened their punter. I mean, I know it's their punter, but still, it was a very cool play to watch.
I know we don't like to make comps for NFL players and college players that are close in age, but if I had to pick one, it's his former LSU teammate Leonard Fournette. I think they share a very similar skill set, and I think they're both going to be really good NFL running backs in the future.
I like that. I like that comp. I have a different one. He reminds me a lot of Maurice Jones-Drew. Both kind of shorter, stockier running backs. Guice's legs just always seem to be churning. He's a lot of fun. He's really popped on tape to me. So yeah, is there anything else about Guice you really like? What about him on the Lions? What do you think he could do for that offense?
Well, I definitely think it'll help them a lot. It takes a lot of the load off of Matthew Stafford. Like I said, Abdullah and Riddick are okay, but they're not the kinds of guys that'll give you 25 to 30 touches a game consistently. Stafford, seems to rack up a lot of passing yards, and I think a lot of that's just because he's throwing the ball so damn much,
Yeah, I mean, he just cannot seem to get any help at running back position. I mean, across his tenure with the Lions, he has had just rough running backs. I mean, who, in your opinion, I think I have the stats to back this up, but who do you think is the best running back of Matthew Stafford's tenure with Detroit? If you had to guess.
Was Reggie Bush a Lion?
Reggie Bush was
Is it Reggie Bush?
It is Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush had an 1,000-yard season in 2014. He wasn't horrible, but that's still rough that a third stop for Reggie Bush's career is the best quarterback Stafford's ever played, or best running back Stafford's ever played with. So, I think it's time to change that.
So prior to Jay Ajayi in Miami, Reggie Bush was the best running back. Lamar Miller, but he never gained 1,000 yards with the Dolphins, and Reggie Bush did. So.
Yeah, so if the puzzle pieces connect, Reggie Bush is the best running back in Dolphins
very
history.
Underrated. I just gave Jacob a very discerning look. Reggie Bush, very underrated second half of his career.
Exactly. Reggie Bush needs a roster spot.
And we will eventually have a Reggie Bush in a Hall of Fame discussion
Oh,
on the podcast.
Of course.
Not the night before the draft, but eventually.
When we're bored next August, we'll be like, "Yo, Reggie Bush, Hall of Famer," and then that's when we'll have the discussion.
That's a good topic.
Perfect.
He's got a bunch of yards.
Exactly. Yeah.
He does have a bunch of yards. That's true.
I'd have to look more into the stats and other comps, but that's for later this year. So, all right.
So let's move on to other prospects that we like. I'm a huge fan personally of Iowa corner Josh Jackson. I'm a mock to the Raiders, like I talked about earlier. He's a super talented prospect, and he's gonna make a difference from day one. He's just gonna be able to lock up the tallest, rangiest receivers. He's a little slow, and his foot speed isn't quite as quick and fluid as somebody like Denzel Ward or Jair Alexander, but he is a type of corner that I think teams are really coveting right now. He's long. He plays fantastic press coverage. He's best utilized in a strict man-to-man press coverage sort of mono sort of lock down the field type of system. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. He needs to get better with the ball in the air, but there's no one better at sticking to another wide receiver.
I think you're right with that. He's a ball hawk too. He had 8 interceptions last year. Washington as a team had 16. So
Yeah, so something. Yeah, you know, he I think he was I'm blanking on the award, but top corner. He won the award for top corner in the country last year. He is, you know, he balled out at Iowa, and it makes a lot of sense. We'll continue that success in the NFL. Another prospect I really like. We both have him going in the maybe the middle of the first round towards the end. Is Harold Landry out of Boston College. He had a really disappointing 2017. A lot of people mocked him towards the top of the draft at the beginning of the year, but he just fell off. He got constant double teams. He was plagued by injuries. Just sort of effort was a question, so kind of fell off people's radars. But if you go back and look 2016 tape for Harold Landry, 16 and a half sacks, 22 tackles for loss. This man was an absolute force in the ACC. Nobody wanted to mess with him. He's incredible. The dip and the leverage he can get coming off the edge is second to none in this class. I think he's gonna be a steal. In my first mock, I had him going to the Seahawks at 18, and that's just a match made in heaven. You know, he is just an instant pass rusher for them, an instant contributor. I think he might get double-digit sacks as a rookie. That's how I think he could be.
That would be quite the accomplishment. I also like Harold Landry. I have him going 25 to Tennessee. Right now they have Brian Arakpo, a linebacker.
Yeah.
He's a lot younger than I thought he was. I thought he was like 36. He's only like 31 or 32.
Brian Arakpo, yeah.
And Avery Williamson, their other, I guess, starting linebacker, signed with the Jets in free agency. Though you're right, he's really good. So I don't know if he'll drop to 25.
Yeah, I think the Titans would be pretty psyched if he was there at 25.
I like that. I like that pick with him going to the Titans. But
yeah,
like you said, he's good enough that he could go before that.
I think it just takes one team. I think some team's gonna fall in love with what they saw in 2016 because he was just a force. So yeah, I think so. Moving on to our final discussion of the day, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has kind of been a divisive point in our hangout sessions, and we just wanted to talk about, just air our feelings out on whether he is a day one starter wherever he's drafted. I mean, obviously a lot of this depends on where he ends up. I have him mocked the Patriots right now, so you know clearly he wouldn't be a day one starter there. But this argument to me is more about, does he have the talent necessary to start day one in the NFL? And I believe he does. And Sharp, what do you think?
I think he has the talent, but I think it would be ill-advised to throw him out right away. He struggled throwing at the combine. I know that doesn't mean a whole lot. You also need to remember that he's just a young quarterback who has some flaws. And,
definitely.
I don't think Sam Darnold is going to be a day one starter if he ends up in Cleveland. So
yeah, he probably shouldn't be. I think that's that is an important note. I don't know if any of these quarterbacks should start day one, but if we're talking about who has the talent to, I think Jackson might have the second highest floor in this draft behind Darnold. I think he is the second most NFL ready. What do you think?
I'm just not sold yet. I think he's definitely NFL ready. I just don't know if he's ready to be thrown right into, you know, facing NFL defenses. That's my biggest worry. I think he might end up forcing a lot of throws that he doesn't need to make. Plus, the pressure on him is super unfair. Everyone's saying he's going to be, you know, oh, he's a running back or a wide receiver. No, he's a quarterback.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I think, you know, as a young guy, they say don't let it get to you. But I think at first it might. It's unfortunate, but I think that's just natural. So I think if you give Lamar a couple weeks to really learn what's going on around him, some practice, and then I think that's when Lamar is going to be scary.
I can get with that.
I think your take, Jacob, Lamar to the Patriots is the scariest for the league because I think there is going to be a lot of pressure. If he's drafted by a team that needs him to start day one, then he will be starting day one. And if he does start day one, you're right, those expectations could get to him. Not saying they will, but they absolutely could. If he's on a team like the Patriots, with a coach like Belichick, with a mentor like Tom Brady's going to show him exactly how to succeed in the NFL. If I'm a young quarterback, I'm praying that the Patriots draft me as their backup quarterback to Tom Brady, because now you just get to sit and learn and see what the greatest quarterback of all time gets to do.
And win a bunch of rings for not doing
that
that.
too.
That's always an added benefit. I have Lamar to the Cardinals. I like that a lot. They have a new coach, new offensive coordinator. Of course, that means a new offense. So why not bring in Lamar and make it, Lamar Jackson's offense?
Yeah, I can get behind that. I think it's a year behind Sam Bradford.
Sammy Sleeves. I honestly don't think Lamar Jackson necessarily even spends a year behind Sam Bradford. I'm just thinking like a couple of weeks. And plus, Sam Bradford's knees.
Yeah. If we can get if 10 games are played by Sam Bradford, I'll be kind of shocked.
I think Sam Bradford will either be bad and benched or get injured at some point. Obviously, I don't wish injury upon anyone. But reality is he has a track record of getting hurt, and I think that might come into play again. So I think Lamar Jackson definitely sees the field sooner than later, but I don't know if he starts week 1.
I like it. I think a place where he can kind of learn. Arizona, I think he'd be thrust into the limelight much quicker than obviously in New England. But yeah, I think there's going to be some scenarios where a team drafts Lamar and says, yeah, you're a day 1 starter. If the Bills take Lamar,
he's starting.
Probably it's either him or AJ McCarron. So Lamar makes a lot of sense. Lamar is probably the best quarterback on that roster from day 1.
Not every team has the chance, have their rookie quarterback sit behind a guy. So you're absolutely right.
Some teams aren't that lucky.
And not saying Lamar Jackson can't perform day 1. I just think for him it would be most ideal to get 3 or 4 weeks into the season, really learn what's going on, and then that's when you put him in.
I'm with it. So I think that kind of wraps up the second episode of Two Kids in a Trench Coat. The draft, depending on when you're listening, has either just happened, is about to happen, or happened yesterday. Depends on. But I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Me too.
There's so much intrigue. There's so many great things that could happen. There's so many. The possibilities are endless. There's so many quarterbacks that could. I think some teams are going to keep trading. I think we might remember this year as 5 quarterbacks in the top 12 or something nutty like that.
Agreed. One thing we don't want to forget is we'll be live streaming our NFL draft party on the Sideline Intel YouTube page tomorrow night. You can expect to tune into that. We don't have a set time because we're all a bunch of kids that are very bad at planning, but right before the Browns are on the clock.
Yeah, 15 minutes before the Browns are on the pick. Maybe pull out your laptop, check into the Sideline Intel YouTube page, and you'll see Jacob, Ryan, Jeff Griffith from Man to Man podcast. All going to be talking about who they expect the Browns to take.
Yeah,
we'll all be there.
Producer Josh will be there. I don't know why I didn't mention himself, but
I'll probably be there.
Producer Josh is an integral part.
It'll be fun to watch. We fight a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's entertainment to a lot of people.
Except some bad takes from Sideline Intel's own Jeff Griffith.
Absolutely.
I'm expecting some rough takes on the football ones.
We still love you though, Jeff.
Yeah. Kind of.
So yeah, we'll have that ready for you on the Sideline Intel YouTube. We'll tweet the link for you. We'll post the link on our Facebook page. So don't forget to follow us: Twitter @SidelineIntel, Instagram @sideline.intel. And I'm Ryan Sharp.
I'm Jacob Rosenfarb.
And I'm Josh Sackless.
And that's all we got for you.
Have a good one.